We were renting a lake house in Wisconsin. The kind you see in magazines. Wide windows, cedar beams, still water that mirrors the trees at dusk. Megan said we needed a break. She wanted something peaceful. Something intentional. That's the word she used. Like peace was a product, something she could book online and unpack between wine pours and playlist rotations. I told her it sounded nice. She smiled like that settled it. The reservation was in her name. The card, hers. The friends who joined us, all hers too. Elise, with her perfect teeth and more perfect opinions. Jenna, who laughed too hard and agreed with everything. Two couples I didn't know by name, just soft-faced men who talked about crypto or wristwatches. I cooked the first night. Megan didn't thank me. She just pointed out that I'd used too much oil. At the table, the talk drifted the way it always does around Megan, onto schedules, Pilates, self-improvement. She had them orbiting her like she always does. Her voice just loud enough, her laughter always timed. Then she said it. "Oh, I forgot to mention," Megan started. Her voice light as if she were commenting on the weather. "I updated the reservation for next weekend. You're not listed anymore. Just for formality. Nothing big." She didn't look at me when she said it. Her eyes stayed on Elise, who nodded like that made perfect sense. And then the topic shifted, smoothly, effortlessly, to dinner options for Saturday. Thai or wood-fired pizza. I didn't speak, didn't breathe for a moment, because the words hadn't landed like a slap. They'd landed like paperwork, like notification, like an eviction mailed 2 weeks in advance. Not listed anymore, just for formality. She didn't say, "You're not coming." That would have been direct, honest even. No, she said I wasn't listed. A systems change. A back-end update. Nothing personal. Just exclusion without confrontation. That was her way now. I stared at my plate, something roasted and overpriced. Megan had planned the whole thing, but I'd paid for it. That had become the rhythm of our marriage. She curated, I funded. She dreamed, I executed. Her boys, they called me by my first name. Never dad, never stepdad. Just that cold, flat tone like I was a guest in my own life. I tried to convince myself for years that the balance would come. That families took time. That stepfatherhood was a marathon of thankless patience. But that night, with the wine glasses clinking and the fireplace humming and Megan unlisting me from my own life, something snapped. No, not snapped. Clicking, she called it. She wasn't wrong. It did click. Everything did. For months, maybe longer, she'd been pruning me. Quietly, strategically. Not in fights. Not in insults. Just with a smile and an update. The house title? She added her lawyer's name. Said it was easier for paperwork. The shared calendar? She stopped inviting me. Said she forgot. The utilities? Switched to her new email. Passwords? Changed, then forgotten. Each act was minor. Isolated, even logical. But when I lined them up in my mind, the changes, the omissions, the slow subtraction, I saw it clearly. I wasn't being included less. I was being removed. Not fought. Not divorced. Not argued with. Just deleted. I looked around that table. The people laughing, sipping wine, dropping names of wellness resorts and skincare brands, and I felt like I'd been buried alive under civility. No one there saw me. No one cared that Megan had just made me vanish. They were used to it, maybe. Used to men like me, the ones who funded the party and were told to keep quiet once the music started. When dessert came, I said I was tired. Megan barely looked up. One of the other husbands asked if I was feeling okay. I lied and said I was fine. Then I walked outside onto the deck and watched the lake for what felt like hours. The water didn't move. Not even the breeze could bother it. I thought about how far I'd come to end up nowhere. When Megan and I met, she was drowning in her divorce. The boys were 10 and 12, bitter and quiet. Their father had run off to some tech startup in another city. No alimony, barely child support. Megan was working part-time at a yoga studio, living with her sister. I stepped in, filled the gaps, bought groceries, paid rent, drove the kids to school when her car died. Slowly, I became the scaffolding she rebuilt her life around. I never asked for much. Just a seat at the table. A voice in the room. But even that, it turns out, was too much. The lake house was supposed to be a thank you. That's what she said when we booked it. "You've been working so hard," she told me. "You deserve this." But here I was, standing outside the very house I paid for, hearing the laughter inside fade as they transitioned to board games or wine refills or whatever came next. And I wasn't invited. I was present, but unacknowledged. Necessary, but unwanted. It reminded me of the time her oldest, Connor, told me during a road trip, "You're not part of this family. You're just here." He was 14. Megan said he didn't mean it, but she didn't correct him. She never did. She'd say things like, "It's complicated," or "He'll grow out of it." But he didn't, and neither did she. She learned to function without me, and I, like a fool, kept funding her independence, hoping it would turn into gratitude. It never did. That dinner was the final proof. She didn't need me there next weekend, didn't want me, and she didn't even bother to hide it behind an excuse. She'd stopped pretending I was a partner. It was a formality, she said, like I was an outdated login she'd finally remembered to disable. Later that night, I sat alone in the guest room. Not the master, not anymore, that was hers now. I looked through my email. Search, change, update, access. And the trail was there. Utility bills rerouted. Insurance adjustments. Travel reservations with my name quietly missing. She'd even changed the billing address on our joint credit card. Each step small. Each step precise. Each step silent. I wasn't part of her plans anymore. I was the funding. The fallback. The man she could erase without ever having to say the words. I slept with one eye open that night. Not from fear but from awakening. I was awake now, and I wouldn't forget what I saw. Megan had removed me, but she had done it too slowly, too smoothly, and now I had seen it. Now it was my turn to move in silence. We didn't speak after dinner. The air in the lake house had settled into that soft, expensive silence. The kind you find in places rented by people who want to believe they live better than they do. The kind of silence where everything looks fine on the surface, but underneath, something's rotting. Megan brushed her teeth with the door open. Her eyes didn't meet mine. She climbed into bed without a word and turned off her side of the lamp. Just like that. Like I wasn't there. But I was there. I was watching everything. At 3:12 a.m. I checked my phone. The Wi-Fi had logged me out. I tried reconnecting. Incorrect password. I tapped again, slower this time. Still nothing. Megan's laptop was still on her nightstand, softly glowing. Connected. Alive. But mine? Gone. Locked out. At 7:41 a.m. Megan left to get croissants with Elise. No kiss goodbye. No eye contact. Just a door closing gently behind her. I waited 10 minutes before I walked out to the driveway. I pressed the key fob to the car, her car, technically, though I paid the lease, and nothing happened. I tried again. Nothing. A red light blinked silently on the dash. Like a warning I was too late to notice. I opened the app. My access was revoked. Not an error. Not a glitch. Deactivated. She didn't forget. She didn't misclick. She removed me. Later I would find out the exact timing. 10 minutes. 10 minutes after she updated the reservation and dropped my name from next weekend's lake trip, she deactivated my key permissions in the system. Synced it all. The Tesla, the garage, the home alarm, the shared calendar, even the cloud storage folder with our tax documents. Every shared space we had was closed to me within the hour. And I hadn't noticed. Because she hadn't slammed a door. She hadn't shouted. She hadn't cried or accused. She didn't need to. She was efficient. There's a kind of violence in that. In being erased cleanly. It's worse than rage. Rage gives you something to fight. Something to respond to. But this was death by 1,000 quiet deletions. I sat on the porch for hours, watching the lake like it owed me something. I didn't reach out to her. I didn't ask why. I knew better now. She'd say it was a system error. She'd laugh, say I was overreacting. "You know how these apps work," she'd tell me. "You're so dramatic." But I wasn't dramatic. I was observant. And what I saw was a woman preparing for my absence. Step by quiet step, until it would feel like I'd never been there at all. There was no divorce filing. No lawyers. No confrontation. That would have made her look cold. But this was cleaner. She was doing it the modern way. Access revoked. Presence unacknowledged. Existence overwritten. She didn't have to leave me. She just had to make it so I didn't exist inside her life anymore. The brilliance of it was its deniability. If I brought it up, she could pretend I was being paranoid. It's just tech stuff, she'd say. You're making it weird. And the people around her, Elise, Jenna, the Wineglass crew, they'd agree. They always did. That's how Megan worked. She curated allies like home decor. But I had seen too much now. After the car, I walked back inside and checked the shared bank account. One of them, the one we used for vacations, small renovations, groceries. My name was still there, technically, but the two-factor authentication now routed to her phone. I couldn't log in without her code. I clicked, forgot password. The recovery email? Changed. I checked the joint insurance policy. My beneficiary status had shifted. Not removed, no. She wasn't reckless. Just lowered in priority. Replaced by someone listed as a secondary family contact. I didn't recognize the name. I checked our Nest security system, the cameras, the alarms, the access logs. My admin privileges? Gone. I was a guest. A ghost in the machine. I opened the door to the master bedroom closet. My clothes were still there. Still folded. Still in the drawers I had organized. But suddenly they looked misplaced. Like props waiting to be boxed up. The whole house felt like a set. Like something staged for someone else's life. I thought about Connor again and the things he'd said over the years. The offhand remarks. The jabs. You don't get a say. You're not real family. This isn't your house. Each time Megan had shrugged. Or said he was just going through a phase. That boys lash out. That it wasn't personal. But it was. And this was the endgame. Connor was 19 now. Away at school. Living off the card I paid for. Megan had told me she was managing his tuition now. Said she'd take care of it. I nodded, stupidly grateful to share the burden. But now I saw the truth. She was centralizing control. Moving all the strings into her own hands so she could cut mine off. Even her silence that morning felt calculated. A test. Would I confront her? Would I make a scene? Or would I do what I always did? Stay quiet, stay useful, stay on the leash? I stayed quiet. But not because I was afraid. Because I was done. I walked to the back of the property. There was a small rental office off the highway. I'd seen it on the way in. A 24-hour spot for tourists who needed boats or jeeps or quick replacements. I went inside. The man behind the desk didn't ask questions when I gave him my license and credit card. Within 15 minutes, I had a rental car in my name. No shared apps. No synced keys. No permissions to be revoked. I drove 2 towns over. Booked a hotel under an old rewards account. They asked how long I'd be staying. I said, indefinitely. Then I bought a burner laptop. Opened a secure email. Backed up everything. Documents, *TS, insurance forms, bank statements, texts. I called a lawyer from a referral I'd gotten years ago but never used. He picked up on the second ring. I'm not filing anything yet, I said. But I want to be ready. He understood. By the time Megan texted the next morning, I was already gone. Not just physically, but digitally, legally, financially. Every shared obligation, every weak point, every vulnerability I'd allowed for convenience or love. I was sealing them shut, one by one. Her message was short. The keys don't work. Did you do something? No punctuation. No warmth. I didn't reply, because I didn't know her clarity anymore. Because now she was the one locked out. I didn't go back to the lake house. Not for my clothes. Not for my toothbrush. Not for the apology that never came. I stayed in the hotel. Neutral walls. Forgettable art. Quiet. It didn't feel like freedom, not yet. But it felt like distance. Like air finally. I kept the curtains drawn. Turned off location tracking. No more shared apps. No more synced calendars. No more digital leash tied to Megan's life. I shut it all down. Everything I'd once called ours. By the time the front desk printed my second room key, the man behind the counter didn't even ask my name. I was invisible now, and that was safer. The first call I made was to the credit union. The joint accounts frozen. I submitted a request for separation of assets. The clerk asked if Megan would be joining me. I said no. I said I had documentation, and I did. I had *TS, date stamped and archived. I had messages, billing changes, the car access log that proved she revoked my key fob less than 15 minutes after she dropped me from the reservation. I had her fingerprints all over the crime scene. The second call was to our mortgage lender. I asked how to remove a cosigner. They asked which party I was referring to. I told them myself. The third call was to a storage facility. I rented a unit in my name only, climate-controlled, paid for 6 months up front. I made a list of what I'd need to collect. Documents, heirlooms, tools, the safe. Everything else. Furniture, decor, the curated life she built on top of mine. She could keep. I left it all behind. By the second day, I had new passwords, new banking, new email. The old ones, I left them intact. Let her watch the accounts drain. Let her feel the absence not as a blow, but as a slow, steady disconnection. Not loud, not cruel, just clean. I think that's what she respected, the cleanliness. I did it the way she had taught me. No raised voices, no spectacle, just execution. On the third day, Megan texted again. Michael, why is the joint lease account closed? Did you cancel it? This time, she added punctuation. I still didn't answer. I had my lawyer forward the lease exit request directly to the property manager. We weren't due to renew for 3 more months, but I didn't care. I offered to cover the fee myself. Let her keep the house. Let her explain to Connor why the bills weren't covered anymore. Let her figure out the budgeting without my income smoothing over the edges. I was done smoothing. I was done padding her lies. By the 4th day, the texts changed. You're being childish. We could have had a conversation about this. I didn't think you'd overreact like this. There it was, the pivot. From confusion to blame. From denial to accusation. She wanted me to feel guilty now. Wanted me to question the moves I'd made. To backpedal. But I didn't. Because I remembered the silence. Her silence, every time her sons disrespected me. Her silence when Connor told me I didn't belong in the family group chat. Her silence when I'd come home late from work with groceries and no one said thank you. Her silence the night she removed me from the weekend trip and told the group like it was logistics, not betrayal. That silence had been her answer. Now mine was echoing back. The lawyer filed the paperwork on the 5th day. Not divorce, not yet. Just legal disengagement. Disentanglement of shared accounts. Shared liabilities. Shared lies. We weren't broken, not legally. But we weren't joined either. And that limbo? That's where I wanted her to sit. I didn't leave a note. I didn't explain. I didn't justify. She was good at ignoring what she didn't want to feel. Now she could practice. On day 6, she showed up at the hotel. I heard the knock while brushing my teeth. Soft, polite, not angry. I didn't answer. I watched her through the peephole. She stood with her arms folded, dressed like she was going to brunch. Sunglasses, hair pulled back. She looked composed. I waited. After 5 minutes, she left. She didn't knock again. That night, she called. I let it ring out. She tried twice more. Left no voicemails. That was her way, no evidence. She knew how to leave clean trails. But I had already recorded everything I needed. The lawyer's summary file was 12 pages long. Bullet points, dates, digital signatures, revisions to our accounts, vehicle ownership, travel history, deactivation logs, even the timestamp on the Nest system the night she changed the access list and removed my profile. I had the receipts. So when the mediation letter arrived on the 7th day, I wasn't surprised. She didn't want court. She wanted closure. Or maybe she just wanted to save face. I agreed to meet. It was a Thursday. Neutral office. Polished table. A box of tissues placed neatly at the center, like grief could be contained by a folded tissue. She looked tired. Not broken. Not remorseful. Just tired. Her voice was soft when she spoke. She started with vague terms. Misunderstanding. Miscommunication. Overreaction. I let her talk. I didn't speak until she was finished. Then I reached into my folder. Pulled out the printout. 12 pages. Each timestamp highlighted. Each decision documented. Each access point revoked with her initials. Some digital, some hand-signed. The evidence didn't scream. It didn't accuse. It just revealed. She looked down at the papers like they were in a language she couldn't read. Then she looked at me. I didn't think you'd notice. That was the closest she came to an apology. I said nothing, because the truth was, she didn't think I'd notice because she didn't think I mattered enough to. And she was almost right. But I did notice. And I did matter to myself finally. Enough to stop funding my own erasure. Enough to stop being the man who paid the bills while being deleted in real time. Megan had built an escape plan in silence. She just never thought I'd beat her to the door. The mediator asked if we were seeking reconciliation. I shook my head once. Megan didn't respond. And that silence, that was the truest moment we ever shared. The lake house was paid for in advance. 3 more weekends on the rental agreement. I didn't cancel it. I didn't ask for a refund. Let her explain my absence to Elise. Let her host the others without me. Let the quiet be hers to carry. She'd built that house on silence. Let her live in it now. I moved into a small apartment above a hardware store in the next county. Month-to-month lease. Unfurnished. The mattress stayed on the floor. The walls were bare. I didn't hang pictures. I didn't bring much with me. Just what mattered. Documents. Tools. The safe. My own name on the lease. My own locks on the door. And no one else's digital fingerprints touching anything. The first night there, I sat in the middle of the room and listened. There was no hum of the Nest system logging my presence. No calendar notification from Megan's phone syncing our schedules. No quiet hiss of a shared smart speaker waiting for her voice. Just my breathing. I had become a ghost to the house we shared, but in this one, I was real again. I worked, ate, I slept. No texts, no calls. Not for 2 weeks. Then Connor broke the silence. He sent an email. Not a message, not a call, an email. Formal. Almost corporate. Hey, Mom said you moved out. Just wanted to know what that means for my school payments. I think the card got shut down. Let me know how we're handling tuition this fall. No, are you okay? No, what happened? Just how are we handling tuition? As if the last 6 years of my life with him were a billing cycle. I didn't reply. I printed the email. Added it to the folder. 2 days later, another message came. This one from Megan. Connor says you're not responding. I understand you're angry, but you can't just walk away from obligations. He starts classes in 6 weeks. This is bigger than whatever's between us. Whatever's between us. Like it was fog. Like it was nothing. I thought about the weekends I spent driving Connor to school. The time I spent building his desk. Assembling his dorm furniture while he stared at his phone. The passwords I reset. The clothes I bought. The dinners I made. The check I wrote when his real father forgot to send the deposit again. Whatever's between us. I didn't reply. She emailed again. This time her tone sharpened. You don't get to opt out just because you're hurt. We had a partnership. Connor is your responsibility too. This is about family. Family. That word again. The same word she'd used when she wanted me to cover the hospital deductible when Connor broke his arm and his father couldn't be reached. The same word she'd used when she insisted on private school. For the future, she said, and I picked up a second freelance job to make it happen. But when he rolled his eyes at me during dinner, when he told me I had no say, when he laughed once and said I was just the guy who pays the bills, that wasn't about family. That was just Connor being a teenager. That was just me being sensitive. I remembered the last holiday we all spent together. The matching pajamas Megan insisted we wear. The posed photos. The captions about our little blended miracle. The likes, the comments, the performance. Then I remembered the silence afterward. No thank you. No warmth. Just receipts in my inbox. Just expectations. I printed those emails too. Week 3, the mediator called. Megan had proposed an adjustment. No mention of reconciliation, just logistics. She's hoping you'll reconsider some of the financial responsibilities for Connor during the transitional period. She's asked for assistance with the fall semester tuition, as well as partial rent on his apartment. I asked if she had provided her own contribution statement. The mediator paused. Not yet. I declined. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't vindictive. I was just finished. They didn't see the difference. Connor's tone shifted on the fourth message. Less formal. More desperate. I just need help for this one semester. I'll figure out the rest. Just need a bridge. Please. I didn't respond. I knew what bridges were. They're what you burn after someone carries you across. Week 4, Megan called from a blocked number. I answered by accident. She didn't say hello. She said, "Do you even care what happens to him?" Her voice was sharp. Not wounded, angry. Furious that her performance had finally failed. I didn't answer her question. Instead, I asked one of my own. "Do you remember the day you removed me from the reservation?" Silence. It was 7:43 p.m. You were sitting at the end of the table. You had a glass of wine in your hand. You laughed after you said it, like it was nothing. Still silence. And at 7:55 p.m., my car key was deactivated. I checked the logs. I have the timestamp. She exhaled. Slow. Michael. I waited. You were never supposed to find out like that. No, I said. I wasn't supposed to find out at all. Click. She didn't call again. Week 5. Connor's landlord emailed the emergency contact listed on the lease. Me. Said rent was late. Said the card on file had declined. Said there was a warning notice coming. Said it would be posted on the door if not resolved. I forwarded it to Megan. No message. No explanation. Just forwarded. Week 6, the lawyer called. Megan was officially proposing dissolution of shared liabilities. She wanted to formalize the separation. Wanted clarity. I agreed. He asked if I wanted to submit a statement of emotional damages. I said no. I didn't want vengeance. I wanted silence. I wanted to live without having to explain myself again to people who had already made up their minds about what I owed them. Week 7, a letter came. Not an email. A real letter. Handwritten. From Connor. It wasn't long. I know I said some things over the years. I know I didn't treat you like a dad. But I need help. I can't make it without some help. I'm sorry. For everything. Please. I stared at the paper for a long time. I remembered him at 12, watching cartoons in my hoodie. I remembered him at 15, slamming his bedroom door and calling me a loser. I remembered him at 17, accepting the keys to a car I paid for with the same hands he never shook. I folded the letter, filed it in the folder, didn't respond, because regret spoken under pressure isn't repentance. It's survival, and I'd already paid enough for someone else's survival. Week 8, the calls stopped. The messages stopped. The bills kept coming, but they weren't mine anymore. Megan had made her move, but I had made mine louder by saying nothing. The absence became the message, and they heard it. I heard through the lawyer that Megan was considering selling the house. Downsizing. Said the mortgage was tight. Said Connor might need to transfer schools. None of it surprised me. For years, I was the buffer between her ambition and her reality. Now reality was knocking. Let it in. Let it sit on the couch I'd bought and listen to her explain what happened. Let her say, "He just left." Let her say, "I didn't see it coming." Let her say, "He overreacted." But let the bills contradict her. Let the silence call her bluff. Let the absence explain what words never could. I live quietly now. The apartment stays clean. I wake early. Work. Cook for myself. I don't explain where I am. I don't answer questions I didn't invite. Sometimes I still think about them, not with longing, but with clarity. I was a placeholder. the tool. Loved only for what I could give. Respected only in theory. Erased when it became convenient. But I left when it mattered. Not with a scream. Not with revenge. With precision. With documentation. With silence sharp enough to cut. And now? Now they live inside the consequences they pretended didn't exist. Now Connor knows what tuition costs when no one's quietly covering it. Now Megan knows what a partnership feels like when one side stops showing up. Now the silence is hers. So I'll leave you with this. Was I wrong? To walk away without a fight? To answer betrayal not with fury, but with subtraction? To stop being the man they depended on when they made it clear I was nothing but a line item in their ledger? Was I wrong to close the door before they remembered how to knock? Or is this the price of being invisible for too long? You tell me, would you have stayed? Or would you have let the silence speak for you too?